pop music and all your favorite artists and why they're horrible, and Taylor deserves this honor. But
Pot music?
Pop music.
Oh.
Pop.
What's
pop
that?
music. I don't know. What's pot music?
I don't know. I'm confused.
Would pot music be like reggae, or is that? Am I not allowed to say that? Is that racist now?
No, I think that's accurate. Reggae.
Well, it just, we can't get too close with our, assumptions about certain cultures and what they do or don't accurately look like, because then the left will get mad at us,
right?
Which we've just talked about. So, there it is. Yeah. Well, okay. On that note, welcome to our review of Grand Theft Auto. No, I'm kidding. That's what we were talking about right before we came on, which we can dive into that and a few other things if we want. But before we get there, looks like we're live, picking up across all the places. So I'll go ahead and say welcome to Unauthorized Caucus. Welcome, Mason, to this room.
Thank you, Ryan.
As we moved from another room.
Yep.
That's the benefit of being in an office building.
Same room as last week.
Same room as last week. Same time as last week. Different topics, though. But just like last week, we would like you to do two things for us. First of all, like, share, and subscribe. Send this to someone now and get them in on the conversation. Get them into the chat and let them know that, hold on. We may have to do a quick re-email. Our Rumble crowd is telling me that the link is not working, but we'll get that out here as we keep going. We are going to make sure that you get good stuff. If you go to the email list, phyllisschlafly.com, sign up there. And we're going to make sure that you like and share and subscribe this so that we can spread this a little further and have good conversations everywhere. So that's that. We got a news roundup today. We kind of dove into a very specific topic last week. We were whole hog into this book and like thinking of nothing else, but there is a lot of stuff that has happened. So we kind of wanted to wrap that up, and we each brought some different conversation topics that we wanted to hit across, because there's a lot of themes that run through these things that I think have long-reaching implications we want to talk about. So that's what we're going to do today. So which one of us leads off? Do you want to lead off with your idea, or which something from your list, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth?
Well, I mean, my list is mainly talking about the debate from last night and what we saw, what was interesting, and what that shows us about the world and the candidates, and leading into the election. So that could certainly be something interesting to discuss if you want to hop off with that.
I was going to say we can run off with the debate. I got notes. I got links. I don't know if we're going to throw up. I didn't bring in headphones, so I'm not sure if we're going to throw up any media from it. But there was a lot. I mean, we could pretty much represent what happened. Just you stand up, I'll stand up, and then we start screaming over each other, and that pretty much covers it.
I'll be Vivek, and you'll be Haley.
That's can I at least be Chris Christie? I feel like I could nail that kind of personality at least a little bit better. Yeah. Like I could do that.
Yeah.
I could run anyway. Okay. Yeah. No, the debate happened last night. Again, there was another vice presidential debate last night. Chuckle. Side note.
Not even a joke, though.
It's not even a joke, because it really was just kind of a free for all. What did I think? What my favorite thing was Dan Bongino said, "Yeah, the debate pretty much our summation. There were just body bags all over the stage," and that's kind of what it was. It was a bloodbath. But what did you think? What are the dynamics that actually mattered out of this that we saw come last night? Because I think at this point we know that the debate stage does not have the eventual nominee of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, at least by all indications that we have to look forward, on that mark. So what does this mean at all? And what did last night add to what it means? Like, what do you think? What was your overall highlight?
Right. Well, I mean, I think we may have to call a priest into the White House in 2024, because it seems that Trump has been able to turn himself into a ghost and haunt the debate stage from a distance. He's just there in their heads, messing with their brains, and they can't stop talking about him. And I think that's something very powerful as people watch these debates, whether it's pundits or the voters looking at the debate and they're watching these people. It's like Trump just keeps coming up. He's this subject they can't avoid. He's the elephant in the room. Well, the elephant out of the room, actually.
The elephant out of the room. And the fifth guy on stage. Yeah, there's a lot of quotes from last night. I mean, it really is kind of odd to me that this whole thing, if we're trying to truthfully, if we're being honest here, and we're trying to set ourselves up as the potential, candidate, the leader, the president of the United States, all we can do is talk about the dude leading the field. Like, move on, or beat up on each other, which actually makes more sense if you're actually competing. But then it always kind of swings back around to, well, if he's going to win, he should be here and talk too. And it's like, that's just kind of not effectual. That's
Right.
not an effective argument. It's really hilarious to me. But I mean, again, what was that proof? What we're here for? Do you really think that these four who we're down to on the debate stage are actually vying to be part of the cabinet at this point? I mean, I'd say Christie already had a shot to do that because we had the running against Trump and then groveling to Trump and now running against Trump again.
Right.
But like, do you think that honestly, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, or Vivek Ramaswamy, any one of the three of them, do you think that they actually have a looking forward moment of what would this potentially do, put me into the Trump administration if and when he wins, or not really, or half and half, some yes and some no? I'm kind of curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Chris Christie is delusional, and he actually thinks that he can do something on that stage. He excuse me. I think that Chris Christie believes that Trump is actually a danger to America and wants to go back to what the Republican Party was before Trump won in 2016.
Now, is that like an honest to goodness, altruistic? I don't think that he's good for the party, or do you think he just thinks this is what's good for him and his future political career, but obviously not winning this election?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think Chris Christie has a good future political career with what he's doing on stage these days. And I think I think he hopes that he does. I think he hopes that he can help the GOP recover in his eyes, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. The party's moved on from what he views the party as. DeSantis just looks tired and sad, and yeah, I think that it makes me sad to see DeSantis up on that stage because I think DeSantis could have made a great success with Trump. He could have carried forward that America First Trumpist energy going into 2028. I think he would have been great because he's been great in Florida. He's been the Florida Trump, but he standing in the shadow of Trump, he looks like nothing, which is very sad to see. And so who's going to be the successor then?
Now here, let me ask you a question on that. This is out of serious curiosity. I don't know if I've actually shared my opinion here. I know I've talked about it with other people. Do you think that this is what Ron DeSantis envisioned when he entered the presidential field? Or do you think that he was convinced, or others had convinced him, that Trump would be gone? Trump would be dead and gone. There's too many lawsuits. There's too many felonies on the horizon. He's going to be out, and we need someone to ride in and be better than all of these globalists that are looking at packing the field. Do you really think that he was anticipating running against Donald Trump as the front runner this whole time? Or do you think he got in thinking Trump would be gone and he would be, like he would be the post-Trump candidate, but that's this year, not the next year? I'm curious. What do you think? Because I have a feeling this is not what he intended to do.
Oh yeah,
I would guess that I think he thought Trump was gone at this point, and this is all kind of now flying by the seat of our pants, trying to figure out.
I agree completely.
Okay,
that's why I think he looks tired, and because this is not how he thought the campaign was going to go. Because if Trump wasn't in the picture, I think Ron DeSantis would be a pretty clear choice, and Vivek would look totally different, and probably not. Vivek would probably not be where he is today on the debate stage with the final four out of the five. So yeah, I agree completely. I think Nikki Haley. I mean, I don't really have many predictions for the future of Nikki Haley. I'd have to think about that more. I think that if she had her way, you would not be seeing me on Unauthorized Caucus every Thursday. You would be seeing me in Taiwan getting shot by Chinese people if Nikki Haley had her way. Either there or Israel or Ukraine. She would send me to one of those places, which Vivek did a very good job of highlighting. Now, what I thought was most interesting about Vivek's debate performance, and I think that this is something he brings every debate performance, is when it gets to those natural moments where they're just like making a hit at home point, where they're like, these people are bad in this way and I'm good in this way, they usually follow that up with, and that is why you need to vote for a president that is going to do this and that, X and Y, whatever you're talking about, who is me. But whenever Vivek gets to that point where it seems very natural to say, and that is why you need to vote for me, he always just draws the attention to Trump. It's bizarre in a good way, and it's the reason I like Vivek the most out of anybody on that stage, is because he's Trump's stand-in in some ways. He's arguing for Trump as Trump's ghost haunts the rest of them.
Well, in a world of talking points that I forget who was. I think it was Matt Walsh who made a comment at one of the last two debates. These are a great slate of candidates from 2004, and it's true. It's like, man, these folks do not at a basic level. We take everyone. If we take everything that everyone is saying at face value, that they actually believe in that some of the policies and ideas that they're putting forward, there are so many of them who, a lot of them are gone now, have showed throughout this debate process, they are completely unaware and out of touch with what most people are worried about, with what Americans are facing every day. Like, it really is the consummate out of touch politician. And to his credit, not that he's, just like you and me, getting a W-2 tax form and paying his bills kind of, on time every month kind of thing. Vivek is the only one who seems to grasp what people are worried about. And it's not trying to, beat back Vladimir Putin or even go and send a bunch of money to beat back Hamas. It's, guys, I'm drowning in 200, 300% increases in all of my bills across the board. Like, I am drowning in this, I'm drowning in that, and it's because of what you are doing. And all of the, all these people up in DC who are supposed to be protecting me and representing me are just flaunting the fact that they are self-enriching and self-aggrandizing, and they're connected to all these other people whose pockets are getting like, and then we're protecting our own Hunter Biden. Like, the whole thing, you look at all of these things, that this is what I see people are absolutely upset and angry about, rightfully so. And yet Vivek's like the only one this whole time who has talked about some of that. It's really shocking to me. It's like, do you guys not actually know? Like, do you not have constituents anymore who tell you, I guess? I mean, not that Vivek does, but he seems to at least understand the moment. And that's, we were having this big conversation this morning, whether or not he's trustworthy or believable or if he'd follow through. That's kind of irrelevant. We're just talking about who's actually willing to touch on what people want to know, about it. And it's just mind-boggling to me that some of these, so many of these consummate lifelong career politicians aren't even trying to connect with people at the level that people are worried about.
Well, that's because they're not. I mean, if you think back to 2016, there was that awesome debate moment where Trump is sparring with Bush, Jeb exclamation mark, and he's the crowd starting to boo him. And it's such a great moment. It's one of those moments that it's like, yeah, this is why Trump won, because they're all booing him. And Trump looks out of the audience, and you're like, you guys are the special interest donors. Hey, people watching this on TV, the reason you can't get a ticket is because this room is filled with special interest donors. And it's like you hear resounding boos from the entire room.
Yeah.
And that's something Vivek was kind of able to capitalize on, both in this debate and previous ones. But saying, hey, Nikki Haley, you're corrupt, you're beholden to special interests, and that's not a good thing. And he had that moment with his legal pad. Nikki equals corrupt, which was awesome. It was just so great.
The notes from the debate. Well, and this actually leads me to my question. I've heard a lot of people ask, do you think that this finally ends Chris Christie's time in the field because of Megyn Kelly's takedown of him in like 30 seconds? It was pretty rough and tumble there. But I don't think that Chris Christie's going anywhere, because Chris Christie's not here to actually make something of himself. Chris Christie's here to make a point, and he's making his point, so that's all that matters. I wonder, though, do you really think, after we have started to see the fallout of, Tim Scott getting out, Mike Pence getting out, like all these people dropping out, some of the more relevant ones, maybe at the top tier, I say the top tier of the single digits, because of the polling has been, or some of the lower ones who really there was no possibility that they were going to, as they're starting to drop out, do you think that a moment like last night, a series of moments like last night, where she was faced with some pretty with the Ukraine thing, to me, that's one of the things that the rich men north of Richmond crowd who resonate with that song and resonate where we are, and I'm trying to get by. So yeah, you want to send us and our money to these provinces in Ukraine, and you can't even name them. And I mean, not that she couldn't technically, if she wanted to, name provinces in Ukraine, but the point being, is this kind of thing enough? Do you think she's going to finally call it quits and roll it in as a result of some of the stuff last night? Or do you think it doesn't really matter at this point? They're just relegating Vivek to his screeching Trump, replacement theory, and we're going to keep going as we go. I'm just kind of curious. This is insider baseball, but
yeah. So something I thought was interesting when I was looking for highlights this morning is how difficult it is to find just like raw highlights. You find all these talking heads, with their analysis about how Nikki Haley is shining through and doing such a great job, and from these, what we used to call the mainstream or the lamestream media outlets, and it's just obnoxious. They're gassing her up in such a bizarre way, saying like, "You go, girl, you got this. You're doing well," which is not true. And I pulled up this article from Vox just because I thought it was hilarious, because these people have no place whatsoever commenting on the affairs of the conservative movement. They're libs, leftists, obviously, but they list the winner of the debate as well. They list 3 winners and 1 loser out of 5, peculiarly, but they list the number 1 winner as the the Haley Christie Alliance.
Oh my gosh, that was, yeah,
which is silly. It's just absolutely silly. And then they list Vivek as a winner for the quote far right conspiracy theorists, which is just okay. Usually, if you're getting labeled that now, that just means you're telling the truth. You're deviating from the official party line. Because far right conspiracy theories are just accurate descriptions of reality at this point, and I think anybody with a brain knows that. Yeah, and they correctly list DeSantis as the loser of the debate. Yes, and then they finally.
And I mean, if we're listing winners and losers by people who just didn't make a fuss and didn't go down in flames, DeSantis is likely the winner across those points.
Right.
Just mind my own business.
Right, but they list Trump as a winner as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because polling after the debates for who you think won the debate, Trump is winning some of those polls. Trump is still polling as the front runner. But so there's this kind of this pseudo media charade of Nikki Haley is a legitimate candidate that's doing well and actually a contender, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And it's just like people are deluded. You don't understand what the American people want, what the American people need, and what we're even looking at. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the debate.
Your thoughts on the debate. There's no nepotism involved, because there's definitely some nepotism going on. I see someone else here saying that Mason guy is so cool. His opinions are right on everything. Over in our YouTube chat. This has to be family.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think I got some fans in the chat.
Yeah, you may have some fans, friends or family, whoever it is. Whatever he's paying you, we're not going to pay you anything because that's wrong. So no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I pay no one.
Well, that, and I'll just say, like, I want to dovetail kind of from the debate into a few other things. Hopefully you are following, and this is my pitch to move over. Follow us at the email list. Go to phyllisschlafly.com and sign up for it, because a lot of what we've talked about this week, what Ed has been covering, and then I've had a chance to step in and fill in for him a couple of times, has been focusing on transparency, and that speaking the truth, pursuing the truth, being pursuing transparency, rooting out corruption, pulling back the curtain on all of the things that happen in the dark is really, this has got to continue to be our number one fight. Because there's other things that we must continue to fight. There are real issues. There are serious things in the culture that we have to do. But on the political front, that has to really be kept up as the number one fight. And there was one good clip where I appreciated, again, I think the real winner isn't even Vivek, but the real winner is some of the things that he gave voice to that are being said on a huge mega media platform, where he goes down the list of like, he called out all the candidates for turning on Trump. Using him for money and endorsements and then leaving him behind, et cetera. But his point was he went through this big list of things like we all have to recognize and admit at this point. He talked about how, you'd be crazy not to at least consider that January 6th was an inside job. We know that the election was stolen, at least by big tech companies and social media. We know now 20 years later that the government has lied about so much leading up to and since 9/11. We know that the Great Replacement theory is not a conspiracy theory. It's literally the title of the left's media work about, like, we can replace them, that famous New York Times article.
Right.
It's not just stop letting them gaslight us.
Right.
Like, no, this you're nuts if you don't consider at least that these things are true. And that kind of dogmatic preaching of the truth, and not letting the left just really gaslight. There's no better word for it. Gaslight you into not talking, or being shoved into a corner of, well, that's just a conspiracy theory, when you're the ones who said it to begin with.
Right.
That kind of pursuit of the truth, I think, is really something we've got to understand. Every single opportunity we have, or people bigger than us on bigger platforms have, that we can encourage, hey, good job, say this, keep going there. There are folks in Congress, outside government, on debate stages, and in local settings that are doing this kind of thing. And I think this is it. Like, this is the battle leading into 2024. It really isn't about the face value issues. It's about the people who don't want to be known but tinker with everything. The system itself.
Right.
Like, that is the big fight. And I think that's something conservatives need to understand, because there's a lot of good fights to be had over marriage policy, abortion policy, the transing of kids. Like, this stuff needs to be addressed, but we cannot do these good things at the expense of fighting these good fights at the expense of this war over here that will fundamentally transform and remove our platform in the country completely. Any kind of free platform, because that's really what it boils down to.
Right.
So that kind of dogmatic approach to the truth on those things, I think, is incredibly important. And I was happy to see that stuff go front and center last night.
Right.
Like, you can play these political games, but here's what we all have to know, and the American people know it. I was like, yeah, this is why this guy's so popular, because Whether he means it or not, that's correct.
Right.
That's right. And he just said it to a huge audience. That's
Right.
why everyone likes it.
Right.
So,
and he brings a lot of that America First energy that Trump brought about, which I think is very important at a time like this, with multiple wars going on and our politicians in D.C. wanting to be so deeply involved in those wars. And I think it's an important reminder that America First means America first. Not Israel first, not Ukraine first, but America first. They can be second or third, maybe, but if we're not prioritizing our own national interests at the forefront, then we are going to fail as a country. Which is, that was another great Vivek moment when he called out Nikki Haley for saying an attack on Israel is an attack on America. said my 3-year-old could point out the difference between those two countries if you want me to bring them up here and show you, which is so true. It's very true, and I mean, obviously, like, Israel is very important for our interests in the Middle East, but it's the idea that we're going to send billions and billions to Israel or Ukraine while our border is crumbling and while our infrastructure is falling apart is preposterous.
Right. And that's, that actually kind of reminds me, and I mean, I've got this huge list of things to go through, but I think this is important. That moment last night during the debate, which, to be abundantly clear, I did not waste my time on a Wednesday night watching this live.
We both just watched clips.
We watched clips and recaps, to be totally honest, because you know what? I kind of knew what happened. Sure enough, this morning, turns out I did know what happened. Yeah. One of the moments, though, it reminded me so much, the Christy Haley love affair. There's, long story short, there was a moment after which Vivek had rightly gone after Nikki Haley for a lot of things. And it wasn't mean and nasty, in my opinion, but it was pretty rough. And Chris Christie then comes back around and, no, anyone who would like to insult Nikki, and we don't agree on anything. Right. All these, not anything, on all these things, but anyone who says, I've known her for 12 whole years. Anyway. And it reminded me. Well, what it reminded me of, though, the dynamic, and this isn't comparing Vivek and Trump, because Vivek is no Trump, that's for sure. But it reminded me of the 2016 debate moments where this huge crowd of people on this stage, Donald Trump kind of stood alone on the messaging of America first, loud and bold and brash. This is what we need to do. And as he would turn and, oh, you only say that because, and then we start listing out globalist truths about this person on stage. This weird circling of the wagons came in, and like all of a sudden everyone had the magnanimous air of, look, we may have policy disagreements, but we have to respect. Oh, shut up. Right. Oh, we are so sick of this. And I mean, this leads me to, first of all, this was going to say, that moment reminded me quite a bit of the 2016, the America First energy versus the circled the wagon establishment. But there's a very interesting dynamic taking place. I know a lot of conservatives who are good, principled people. They're not the old timers, like the establishment. Let's go for the globalist stuff. We're here for, they believe in the conservative movement, but they are hung up on this new wave of like the MAGA, which in my opinion, the Make America Great Again movement came before Donald Trump. Trump just gave it legs and a voice and tweets. This new, more brash, we are done listening to you, shut up, is a hang up for them, because they still want to be in the world of statesmanship and civility. And I can't say that I disagree. I wish we had statesmen and not congressmen. Like, I really do. But at the same time, if you're going to make the analogy that this is war, we're not just having a political discussion about which direction to make this policy go. We're talking about the survival of the republic itself. What do you do? Well, you fight. Right. What does fighting look like? It's not always pretty. It doesn't mean I'm mean and cheating and underhanded, but you fight. So it kind of, I wonder, what are your opinions on that shift that we're seeing, this America First MAGA side of the Republican Party, or the conservative, I'll broaden it, the conservative movement. Is it too brash? Do we need to rein it in? Is it not brash enough? Is this what gets the job done? Because it's not about liberal versus conservative. It's about statism versus freedom. Like, what do you think? I'm kind of curious, because I personally adopt it. I think that it's actually a good thing, because I would call it necessary for the battle that we're in. But I know a lot of people who are good people that believe in what you and I do, that are really hung up on that style. And this old style, they fall for that stuff. And I'm like, I don't care about Chris Christie's schmaltz. Chris Christie's no conservative. He doesn't believe what you and I do, and neither does Nikki Haley, apparently. Right. So why are we like, oh yeah, we should really, like, I'm sorry, you don't have respect from the American people anymore. I'm not going to treat you without the human dignity that you deserve. but we got no political respect. Get off the stage.
Right.
I don't see a problem with that. Some people do. What do you think?
Right. I mean, I think that
That was a really long wind up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
I haven't ever asked you.
Yeah, well, I think the America First movement is a very good thing, but I don't think it's as good as it could be. And I think a lot of that is just kind of the troubles and growing pains from Trump's first term that he wasn't able to fully execute in the way that he wanted to. But when to Chris Christie's horror, Trump says he's going to come back with a vengeance, to exact vengeance upon everyone, which is totally epic. Totally epic. I like that. Yeah, I think it's good. I think that Trump is going to have learned a lot of things from his first term that are going to help him in the second term, such as, maybe if I threaten to put my political opponents in jail, I should follow through on that, because if I don't, they're going to come after me, which is kind of what he's dealing with right now, as he's tied up in court with a whole bunch of different cases, and has had a mugshot taken of him.
The most beautiful mugshot ever. Sorry, couldn't help it.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see what Trump is going to do, because I think that he's going to protect the American Republic, because he loves America and he cares for this country. And he's been waiting for his critical moment to come in and take care of this country in its time of need, as he's been saying for decades now. If you look back at old interviews, he has a very deep-seated care for this country. And I think as our enemies, the left, have reared their ugly heads so strongly in this last year, especially since 2020, but especially in this last year, that's what gets me excited. Especially Trump saying things like, like, I promise not to be a dictator except for on day one, which also like totally epic, because that signals his willingness to protect the American Republic and protect the Constitution, our freedoms. But that also signals a recognition of the situation that we found ourselves in, where there is this massive overbearing government, structure, the deep state, the persecution of the January 6th protesters, the persecution of pro-lifers, and obviously all unconstitutional occurrences coming from our government. And you look at the Constitution, and there is not a great way in there to deal with such things when they arise, or to deal with an invasion of migrants like we're dealing with today. So it's to restore the Constitution, it might take some extra constitutional effort, and I think Trump is willing to go there, which is good, in my opinion.
To be fair, if he walked in day one, the dictatorial actions are needed in his department.
Yeah.
It's the executive branch. It's the administrative state that needs slash and burn, mass firings, shut the building down, turn off the lights, move that department out of existence. Like, if there's going to be someone who just goes slash and burn, no accountability, although it's not no accountability, like, it's there. You are the CEO of the executive branch. This is your job, is to go. Which is why I was kind of disappointed that there's a huge laundry list, but it's like, I mean, you can't do everything. I had this big laundry list of what I wanted from Trump in the first term. And I'm like, man, I would have loved some more firings and slashings and budgets disappearing, buildings getting shut down and everyone being sent home. Like, I'm not trying to harm people's livelihoods here, but at the same time, what is or isn't good for the country, so much of the problem is almost everything that you just mentioned comes back to the executive branch.
And it takes action to fix it. And then what the executive branch can do is execute. And that's what it needs to do. And as we've seen,
to be clear, plans, not people.
Not execute like French Revolution
people.
Style, not that kind.
No. I'm just clarifying, YouTube.
Yeah, well, because I think El Salvador is a good example in what's gone on there in the last year with new guy gets into power. I forget his name, but the new president of El Salvador gets in, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to round up all of the gangs and put them in prison. And it's like, sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes it is as simple as taking action and actually executing your will through the mechanisms available to you. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose. And I think that might be what we're about to see in Argentina with Milei, like with his chainsaw and crazy hair, that he's going to just like tear apart the government. And he's going to be like, yeah, you guys are harming the people. You guys are destroying this country. People don't like this. You are they're bringing in immigrants to Argentina just like they are here, to rig the elections and make it go a certain way. And it's like, this has to stop. So I'm hoping that Milei can kind of be a foreshadowing of what we will see with Trump's second term. But that's still to be seen
and
too.
See, there again,
not inaugurated yet.
Milei is, you look at his rhetoric leading up to it. It was was kind of the same thing. It was like, look, I don't want to do this. I don't want to respond this way. But this is how you have to deal with these leftists, with communists. This is how you must respond. This is how you must speak. This is how we must act. They want us to not exist. We must fight for our existence. We must beat them. We must eradicate this thought from our and he's not calling for mass roundups and executions. He is calling for political warfare. I'm not bothering with that garbage anymore. I'm going to say what I think. We're going to say what needs to be done.
Right.
And we're just going to move on and do that. Like I'm tired of being nice.
Right.
I don't have to be nice to treat you with, the basic dignity that you deserve, but there's no respect. Get out.
And the crazy thing is he's a self-described anarcho-capitalist, you know, like that is he is far at the logical extreme of classical liberalism, but he recognizes that action needs to be taken. So I think this is an important moment for those with more classical liberal inclinations to learn and understand that, our enemies can get to the point where sometimes you just have to hold your nose and take them out to be able to restore proper order.
Yeah, I heartily agree, and I think that's what we're seeing. We ended up, we talked most of the time about the debate. We got to move on to something else. We have to move on into our favorite thing. Our favorite thing. So here's the deal. There is no prize, just the victory of knowing. But the Easter egg, in case you didn't get it, which probably you didn't because you're not a fan and you would have had to Google it, which is exactly what I did. There will be a prize, the victory of knowledge that you did well. I'm just kidding. Did you think of something?
No.
We'll think of a giveaway maybe. Anyway,
there will be a giveaway.
There will be a giveaway, and we'll figure out whoever correctly identifies the most amount of Taylor Swift song references in the email.
He made this email, by the way.
I did. I wrote this.
So when he asked me about pop music, keep in mind that he wrote the email.
Again, you want to know who was Googling top 20 Taylor Swift songs? Taylor Swift songs? Me. Taylor Twit. Oh, I'm going to switch over to that. I like that better. Anyway, am I allowed to do that? Your look seems judgmental.
I don't know what you're...
Taylor Twit.
Oh,
can I call her Taylor Twit?
Yeah.
I feel like that rolls... It was Freudian slip. It just came out.
I like Taylor Sniff.
Taylor Sniff. We've been debating... Never mind. We don't need to get on that rabbit hole.
But...
But... You go and take a look at that email, and the suspense is killing me. Well, guess what? Go and take a look at the email. Tell me how many Taylor Swift song references you see in the email, and we'll send you something good. Likely it'll be a book. We have a lot of those. But if it's not a book, it may be another set of little goodies. Let me know. Shoot me an email, ryan@phyllisschlafly.com, and you sound off. First one to hit me with the most correct references, because there are a lot. You will get a prize. I'll also need your physical mailing address. So if you're scared about sending that to the government, just remember we're talking about the government. We aren't actually the government.
We don't like the government.
We don't. Well, no, I don't like the current government.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like the founders' government. Anyway, go and take a look and do it after. It's not going anywhere unless you want to be first. Then you need to go and do it now. But Taylor Swift is now America's Person of the Year.
Yep. Yeah.
And one of our favorites.
Was this a time for my thumbnail moment?
Your thumbnail moment? We will go and grab that thumbnail moment. Hold on. Do it again, and I can do the response. Okay, good. Thanks for bearing with us on that. I always love getting a thumbnail of a good quality every year. Evita Duffy Alfonso, one of our favorite writers. Ed talks to her pretty frequently on the Pro America Report. She wrote in the Federalist, my favorite headline of the week: "The most insufferable woman in America wins Times Person of the Year." It is true. She is insufferable. And it is not just because I am super sick about hearing about Taylor Swift and what's his name? Travis Kelce?
The football guy?
Yeah, the football guy who's her boyfriend now. He plays for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce.
Okay.
It's Kelce, but I didn't know his first name.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Pfizer, poster boy, as he's been frequently called.
I believe you.
Yeah, well, anyway. So, the girl
Fauci?
boss herself.
She's dating Fauci?
No, the young version of Fauci. No, I'm kidding. I think that this actually, as much fun as it is to mock, and obvious gaslighting that this is for Time to pick her, I think that there's some serious consequences as I look at this and look forward to 2024. I kind of wonder if this isn't one of the left's real significant, plays in the game. We'll just run with a football reference. This isn't maybe their Hail Mary pass, but this is the one to get them several yards down the field, because I know you and I have talked about a lot. We keep talking about politics and solutions and all these different things that are essentially putting a Band-Aid on the problems in our country, when the problem is the real root cause: our culture and our people are sick. They're wrong. They're misled, especially this many generations of government school control they are just completely brainwashed into certain directions of thinking. So when a cultural icon like Taylor Swift is literally jettisoned to the place that she is, every news channel, everything, now the front of Time magazine, and this is actually something I was going to go and look for because we've talked about this, Taylor Swift's influence on the Argentinian election. This is John and Andy Schlafly. We were talking about this a few weeks ago. You talked with John about this. What do you think is coming about Taylor? Because she got very political this last election, the Biden-Harris cookies and everything. I remember several social media posts. Do you think that this is the beginning of the end of the left's big push to completely destroy us in 2024? Election fraud aside, just the fact that we have lost so many people to this side of nonsense that they follow along with culture like this, and they believe in these things, and abortion is empowerment, not murder, et cetera, and so on. Do you think that this is actually a bellwether moment where we look at what the playbook will be and how they could potentially beat us in the next election just outright by mobilizing such characters and actors like Taylor Swift into the political process?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that will get some people, a lot of people. Taylor Swift has a lot of fans, and for the most part, people, we use the term sheeple. People follow along. They got their fluoride stare, and they, favorite musician says vote Biden. Favorite actor says vote Biden. And then like the buttons start like beep 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 in their brain, and they just Pokemon go to the polls, as Hillary Clinton said, and cast their vote. So yeah, I mean, I'm not terribly worried about it. I don't feel as if this is Taylor Swift specifically and her influence is an existential moment, because all big celebrities are liberals, leftists, all our major celebrities in all our movies, aside from a very select few like Mel Gibson, but all the major musicians, all the big time A-list actors, they're like, oh yeah, we love the global corporate hegemony, and we love mass importation of migrants, and Kamala Harris is so cool, I'm going to do a TV special with her to like make her look hip to the kids.
But see, that's the thing. This is kind of what's got my buttons, getting pushed here, is that this isn't a politician trying to come back and look hip and appear cool. This is someone who has, arguably been born and bred to be a pop culture icon from her youngest years all the way through now. She has existed really outside the political world completely until very recently. She was just this hugely popular thing. And now her huge base, I would argue, is my age group, yours to mine, because she was the popular teenage country star, I guess, when I was, college and beyond, something like that. She was getting popular. I remember friends in high school would talk about Taylor Swift. So her earliest albums were around that time. Oh, and well, we know how old she is. Doesn't she name her albums after? Like, the songs are obnoxiously about her many, incredibly many ex-boyfriends, but aren't the album names like her age or something?
I don't keep up with pop music.
I don't either.
Much.
I know nothing here. I'm not entirely sure. I'm over here listening to Vivaldi and Wagner. Wagner. Man, I went through too many. I went through from a V to a German V, and I lost it.
So what is your concern with Taylor
Swift? My concern is that we've got this.
Votes?
We almost have the perfect, I hate to say Manchurian candidate. We almost have the perfect moment where this icon to millennials and down is suddenly being mobilized into a political direction. She checks all the boxes for being controllable by the leftists, by this group of globalists, and she checks all of the boxes for being a very non-political pop icon who everyone has loved. I say everyone, obviously not you and me. We don't know anything about it. But all of a sudden, to mobilize her to the other side, when Taylor Swift gives you the okay, Taylor Swift's boyfriend gives you the okay to get the vaccine. She gives you the okay to vote for Biden. When you combine that with the incredible moment that we're in of our generation and down, which are now more and more the voting population. I mean, obviously, votes heavily come from the older end of the spectrum of voting demographics, but still, I look at something like this and I get pretty concerned, because this is a very powerful moment to mobilize a lot of people in a certain direction, because they've already been indoctrinated with all of the different, abortion is women's empowerment, and trust the science, and I could go through everything. But they've already kind of had all these different things. If someone comes, a mega celebrity, pulls it all together, and then suddenly mobilizes out of, well, I don't really care about politics, but I must speak up this time. Not your traditional people who have already made their bank on this. I look at it and I'm you could talk about Taylor Swift's popularity being a sign of cultural decline. I worry that the mobilization of the Taylor Swifts of the world into politics, which I think has been the plan all along, I worry that that actually does signal the end of elections for us in America, period.
Wow.
I don't know. Am I crazy and off base there?
I had just never considered this. Yeah, this is not something I've thought about. The ability of Taylor Swift to have such a profound
and I mean, I'm using her as a reference point. Obviously, she's not the only one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like we're starting to see this. People who were really, because there's been a host of Hollywood celebs that have been political their whole lives. No one cares. But there's this whole growing up section of pop stars and movie stars that have fed into the narcissistic world we live in, and has fed into the indoctrination that people have received for so many generations now, school generations in government schools. I worry, is this the moment where we finally can flip the switch and we don't have to cheat anymore, the left says, because we can just actually swing a significant portion of the population enough this direction that all of a sudden they really can force us into a corner where we've now lost that vital extra 5 to 10% of the vote, and we'll never win it again. And I mean, I'm kind of being doomsday and plugging it in there, but I actually look at this and this moment, like all of a sudden, Taylor Swift has been popular, mega popular forever. But in the last 18 months, they have shot her to mega millionaire status times woman of the year, like not just influential celebrity pop star, like cultural icon. It seems like all of the switches, I can't talk today. All of the switches have been flipped for this new direction and opening of Taylor Swift being the face of womanhood in America. And I look at that and wonder what the political implications are as well. Not even the cultural implications.
Yeah, I mean, I'm skeptical that.
Me too. That's why I'm bringing this up. Sorry.
I'm skeptical that Taylor Swift just would be able to flip any of her fans to voting, or many of her fans, a significant number that would otherwise vote Trump. I'm skeptical that she would be able to flip a significant number of them into voting.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the non-voting ones. Activate them into voting people.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now.
The mindless hordes. I mean, come on. Have you ever been to a Taylor Swift concert?
I mean,
neither have I, but it's not full of Trump fans, I'm pretty sure.
These mindless hordes are the ones already, that the left spends millions of dollars into mobilizing anyway. I mean, that's what voter fraud is. It's
but that's the thing,
collecting their ballots, so they don't have to vote. So
they're not dead. Those aren't all Democrat ballots.
Well, it's plenty of other people, especially.
True.
I mean,
but I mean, that's the thing. Kamala Harris coming out and trying to dance and be hip is not exactly going to move enough of that non-voting population like a Taylor Swift does. Yeah. All of a sudden, Taylor Swift says it matters now. And again, insert your figure, there. I look at it as a very dangerous moment of mobilization for the left that does not have anything to do with election fraud. It has to do with the outright shifting of, because I mean, you look at the numbers, like there's this massive group of eligible voters that just don't vote. And a lot of them are young people.
Yeah.
What happens if all of a sudden they start deciding to vote because someone who's never been purely political, like an obnoxious, Matt Damon talking about environmentalism, all of a sudden becomes political, and it's on these things that have been indoctrinated into them, the girl boss type of movement. I've read too much Carrie Gress. We've gone so far down that book that now I see feminists everywhere, and no, I'm kidding. Kind of. Not really.
They're under the cupboards.
Kind of. Don't say that. That is sexist. How dare you assume they're in the kitchen?
Hiding in the rafters. Then
hiding in the rafters. There you go.
Yeah.
Looking for the ceiling.
If there's really if I have any evidence to go off of on this matter, I'll think of Argentina, in which her fans did get all up and rowdy prior to the Argentinian election, and it didn't. Milei still won, even though they were against him because he is a far right fascist and all these terrible terms. But it didn't work there.
Well,
I don't know if it'll work here because I do think that we're still the silent majority because we're on the side of reason and nature and human nature. And I think that.
So you think that I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. You think that the silent majority is a real thing that still exists?
I think we've gotten louder as a silent majority now.
But the majority part is what I'm asking, and I'm not really. You think it's the majority still, quite possible?
Yeah, I do think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think with no voter fraud, Trump would have won 2020 in an absolute landslide.
Oh yeah, electorally the Electoral College, yes, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that if that's the uphill battle that the Democrats are fighting, because Trump will win in 2024 in a landslide if they can't get enough voter fraud out there. I think the silent majority does still exist. I think that's why they had to commit voter fraud in 2020 and why they didn't commit enough of it in 2016. Election interference. They faked the election, YouTube. You hear me? They faked it. Yeah.
COVID's not real. We might as well just throw that in there too. No.
Most people are on our side, especially just in the Western world and the European world. You saw this in Argentina. Milei won in a landslide, even though he seems like a very niche candidate. I think you're going to see this in Ireland soon, where there's going to be a far-right populist candidate that's going to win on an anti-immigration platform. It might even be Conor McGregor, which would be pretty cool in my opinion. But it's because like your average people don't like the economy being bad. Average people don't like, seeing hordes of people from every third world country flow into their streets, and they don't like eggs quadrupling in prices, and they don't like gas getting more expensive, and they don't like the rising crime rates and the consequences of the defund the police and the Black Lives Matter movement. Like that's everyday people who, anybody who, real people that don't just like spend all their time on the wrong side of Twitter and TikTok and are just like, inside and insulated from the real world and just getting propagandized by the communist Chinese through all these avenues. They don't like life under Biden. We don't like life under Biden. We don't like mass immigration. I think that globalism and its consequences are felt in a very real way by average everyday people. And I think they're going to vote that way.
I want to agree with you.
I hope I'm right.
I'm not sure.
I do hope I'm right.
And we're going to start losing people here. We've gone way past our normal time, but
I can't know I'm right, but I hope I'm right.
No, I hope I'm right. There's our slogan from today. I hope I'm right. Okay, why use many words when few do find? This is an Office reference. Sorry. I think that actually might be a bigger discussion to expand because, again, I have always traditionally agreed with you, but I am starting to worry more and more. The more I realize just how far down the road of government school indoctrination we are. Not to sound like a broken record from 1998.
Yeah.
But really, I really look at it and I kind of wonder. So that could be a whole thing. I was just catching up, by the way, as you were talking on a couple of these things. Someone says, Phyllis on Rumble says that Tay is as insufferable as Greta Thunberg. Yep. I agree. I wouldn't have agreed with you a few years ago, but I do now. I'm with you. I'm with you there. And also she says she thinks she's 33 now. So apparently Phyllis is a follower of her albums. And Phyllis may in fact win the competition for naming the correct number of Taylor Swift references in the email. You never know. I'm not trying to insult anyone. I'm just saying it's possible because I don't know how she's. Anyone with half a functioning brain knows Donald Trump won in 2020, no matter what the deep state insists.
You hear us, YouTube?
There you go. That's over on Rumble. Sorry, that was over on Rumble.
Yeah, but YouTube's listening too.
They are listening too. That's correct.
The algorithm.
Caleb over on YouTube says, in addition, you have numerous corporations signaling political views, which is true. That has released, they have released the Kraken in the last 18 months to 2 years on those things. Disney's always been bad, but I mean, Disney 10, 15 years ago compared to Disney now is just bonkers to think about the shift we've seen. And that is incredibly concerning.
But they're losing money. People aren't going to see those.
They are, but I mean, have they laid off? Have they shut down one of the Disney worlds yet?
No, but they
I know that's coming.
That's not the point.
That's not the point. I know. I understand.
The point is the people
this
aren't
is a whole
interested.
Separate caucus.
We don't want to spend our money on this. People.
That's true. They are. Bud Light, I think, is the bellwether for holy cow. People actually had enough of something and moved on. That was huge to see the numbers that they posted month over month, sales dropping like a rock.
Right. If we keep seeing the trans stuff just pushed on all of us relentlessly, we don't like this. People don't like this. Normal people do not like this.
Right. And then there's the Gwen on Facebook says, if parents aren't influencing their children, maybe Taylor Swift can influence her fans on how to vote. That's kind of the summation. That's what it boils down to. And honestly, that was kind of the whole gist of the book that we did last week, which has been on our minds probably, is if you're not going to influence your kids, if you're not going to raise your kids and educate your kids if you're not going to take primary responsibility, someone else will. And then when it's time for those kids to get activated and do something like vote a certain direction, the people who have had all that influence will do it. So how do we fix that? You be the one to have that influence over their kids. You be the one to go get married, have kids, be the ones to train them. We're doing you mean take off our shoes and hit no. That's the way to fix it. Stop doing what we've been doing that's gotten us here. Start doing now what is right, each one of us. It seems, is that the big fix that churns the country around? It might not be flashy. It might take a little while, but that's the fix. Restore what was broken. Start doing that again instead of what we're doing now. It really is that simple. So there you go. That's a long UC. Hey, someone bought The End of Woman last week after Unauthorized Caucus and sent it to a friend. Good. Oh, and sorry. She heard her age on the radio news. I take back all of the nasty things I said. You don't know anything about her albums. That's okay with us. Neither do we. You're in good company over on Rumble. So yeah, good. Go buy the book. It was good. And go sign up for the email because we're going to have some links today and we're going to have some resources. And I got a bunch of stuff we didn't even get to. So we might throw some bonus ones in there just for funsies.
Yep.
So
subscribe, hit the green bell or the blue bell or the red bell. Blue Bell ice cream, yum. Facebook, subscribe, follow, X, hit that white follow button. I think it's white on there. Turn it black or purple, whatever it turns.
We don't have to make this about race. Come on.
Hit the little heart thing beneath the X stream if that's where you are. And we can't wait to see you next week. We look forward to hearing your feedback. And, as before, we love to hear what topics you'd like us to discuss. So please feel free to shoot us an email, respond to that email you get today, or email one of us, and we'll see you.